Welcome to the Unfinished Bridge podcast, a production by the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation to inspire and promote a just and inclusive Nigeria.
Welcome to the very first episode of our podcast, The Unfinished Bridge. This production by the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation seeks to inspire Nigerians across all divides to continue the perpetually unfinished work of nation building. My name is Amara Wampa, and my co-host today is the fantastic Zainab Ibrahim.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Our guest today is a significant contributor to the development of development and nation building in Nigeria. John Palfrey is the president of John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, based in Chicago. The foundation has contributed significantly to national development in Nigeria over the past 30 years. So welcome, John.
Thank you.
Or should I call you the Jamar Adalchi of FCT? You're our landlord now.
You're very nice. You're very nice. Thank you. I'm proud to be a member of the council.
Yeah, congratulations.
We're happy to have you here today.
So, John, 30 years of dedicated engagement with Nigeria is truly remarkable. So what has been the driving force behind the foundation's commitment to Nigeria? And in what ways has this journey proven fulfilling?
Zainab and Amara, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's an honor to be with you, and what a beautiful, beautiful space you have here. It's exciting to be at the Yar'Adua Foundation. And to talk about MacArthur Foundation, we are devoted as a global foundation to bringing about a more just and verdant and peaceful world. And we have only 3 offices anywhere in the world. One is here in Abuja, another's in Delhi in India, and then our home office at Chicago in the USA. So here in Abuja, we have been working for 3 decades plus, and we are very, very proud to be so connected to many of you through the work that we've been able to do. It's ranged from population and reproductive health back in the 1990s to girls and secondary education, and most recently focusing on government accountability and anti-corruption, and doing that with a range of partners in a range of ways.
Thank you. I'm actually genuinely curious about the word verdant. What does that mean?
Oh, wonderful. Oh, my gosh. Okay, it's very memorable because it's an unusual word.
Yes.
But verdant, it sounds like verde, or it's green.
Yes.
And it means to be a healthy ecosystem. So it goes along with environment, ecosystem, climate, and so forth. So one of the strands of our work since our founding has been environmental protection, conservation, and right now it's a large-scale global program around climate solutions.
That's fascinating. But today we're hosting a conversation about marginalized communities, and the MacArthur Foundation's commitment to social inclusion is commendable. Can you talk to us a bit more about this commitment, and especially the work, the interventions and effort that you do with people with disabilities, persons with disabilities?
There are 2 strands of work that I would tie together in the event that we have tonight at the foundation. And the first one is what we call our just imperative. So we have decided that through all of the work we do, we need to find ways to bring about justice. And that takes different forms in different places. So in the United States, if we were sitting in Chicago, the conversation would probably be more about racial equity, racial inequity. The fact that there's such a gap in wealth, for instance, and health outcomes based upon your race there. In Nigeria, that's, of course, less of an issue, but our focus for the just imperative is what we call JESSI.
Yes.
So that's got a gender lens, and as well as social inclusion based on persons with disabilities. So that's one strand. The other strand that it brings together, we've taken a pledge as a foundation to work on disability inclusion across all our programs. And so I would say, and this is a real, an honest plug on behalf of our Nigeria-based team, nobody has taken this more seriously than our Nigeria-based team. They've worked, for instance, with the indigenous communities here in the FCT and worked on engagement of individuals who have disabilities in the indigenous communities, as an example. They have found ways through all their programming to focus in this way, and that's been a real joy to behold.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic work. So the concept of switching on opens possibilities, a lot of possibilities. Has there been a surprising or notable outcome from the On Nigeria program that you can share with us?
There are so many that I would point to. I really have been moved on this trip by learning about the way in which the original inhabitants here in the FCT have been able to gain more voice in the last few years and to have their first representative on the cabinet at a federal level in the history of this republic. So I think that's an example and an important one. I'd shift gears a little bit to another program just to give a slightly different example. We have focused also on the ACJA, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act.
Yes, that's true.
The implementation of that act has been very important, I think, to bringing a level playing field in Nigeria. And one thing that happened recently was that the state implementation was completed. So all 36 states recently completed their state-level implementation of the ACJA. Many of the partners have been MacArthur Foundation grantees who've been leading that work. So I think that's a significant accomplishment that the grantees of the foundation have brought about recently.
That's fantastic. That's actually commendable. Now, most of our listeners are young people, and they're definitely interested in hearing stories. And it'd be great to hear some from you. Is there any heartwarming story, interesting story that you can share about your work in Nigeria and something that is memorable for our audience?
Well, we were hosted yesterday in Garki by the Emir and his entourage and his cabinet and so forth for an extraordinary community event. And I have found each time that I've come here, particularly meeting with original inhabitants and being hosted within communities, at the warmth of the community as well as the depth of engagement with our foundation staff. I would note on the most recent trip also traveling to the Ushafa Pottery Center and seeing how original art and original craft is being brought back, in fact, through some of these efforts and creating jobs for people. And those people have ranged from people who have lots of education to people who have learning differences, and they've found a way through the Ushafa Pottery Center to be extremely inclusive in bringing about something that I think could have economic effect for the community, but also a very powerful inclusive effect.
Thank you so much. So I have one more question for you. Nigerian or Ghanaian jollof?
Oh my gosh, such an important question.
Very
So
important.
it turns out that the Jollof wars are alive and well at MacArthur Foundation.
Oh, okay.
And my view is when I'm in Nigeria, definitely Nigerian
Definitely
jollof.
over
But
there.
you better.
No
you
question.
better.
But I will say that we do have a Ghanaian American colleague, and she's on the team.
Yes.
She might even be here tonight, and she brings forward the Ghanaian jollof in Chicago. And so we do have the Jollof Wars in real blind taste
time.
testing in
Okay.
real time in Chicago.
All right. Thank you so much, Ron, for joining us on the Unfinished Bridge, and we look forward to having you next time.
I'm honored to be with you. Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Amara.
Thank you, John.